I stand in room 312 of St. Bridget's Regional Medical Center, Denver, watching my daughter's chest rise and fall beneath the rhythm of machines. The ventilator hisses like a metronome for the dying. Lily's wedding ring glints under the harsh fluorescent lights, a perfect gold circle that used to symbolize everything she believed in: love, trust, safety. It's been 16 days since the accident. I know the details better than I wish I did. Tuesday, 6:47 p.m., Interstate 25. A clean brake line cut. Her car slammed into a barrier. They said it looked like mechanical failure. I knew better the moment I saw her mangled Honda. 30 years as a federal prosecutor teaches you the difference between coincidence and intent. Her husband, Dr. Eric Coleman, hasn't been here in 3 days. Not once, but I know exactly where he is. Everyone does. His mistress, Jessica Monroe, is generous with her social media updates. Champagne, neon sunsets, a white yacht called Serenity Bay, Slip 22, Marina Verde, Miami. In one post, she's wearing a red bikini, perched on Eric's lap, laughing. The caption reads, "To new beginnings." The timestamp, 2 hours after Lily's emergency surgery began. My throat burns. I press a hand to my daughter's pale wrist, counting the seconds between beeps. Her pulse is there, faint but steady. Her skin is warm. I talk to her quietly, the same way I did when she was a little girl afraid of thunderstorms. "You're going to make it, kiddo. You always do." The door opens behind me. A soft voice says, "Mr. Harris?" It's Clara Ruiz, the senior ICU nurse. 25 years of service. She has the kind of steady eyes that have seen everything: births, deaths, and all the slow in-betweens. But tonight, her hands tremble as she clutches a clipboard. "There's something I think you should see," she whispers. I take it. It's Lily's medical file. The latest entry makes my stomach turn cold. "Do not resuscitate." Filed 3:14 p.m. Signed, Eric Coleman. The handwriting looks perfect. Too perfect. I've seen Eric scrawl on thank you cards and prescriptions, a slanted, hurried signature. This one is neat, symmetrical, and deliberate. Forged. "When was this submitted?" I ask. "Yesterday afternoon." Clara glances around the hallway before lowering her voice. "But Eric wasn't here. He called from out of state. We received the document electronically." I stare at the timestamp. 3:14 p.m. Yesterday, 3:14 p.m., while Eric was photographed sipping champagne off the coast of Florida. Something inside me snaps into focus. It's not grief anymore. It's calculation. "Who authorized this?" I ask. "Dr. Keller entered it in the system," Clara says. "But he's been on leave since Friday. We can't locate the co-signing physician. There should be 2 signatures. There's only one." My heart hammers in my chest. In 30 years of courtrooms, I've seen fraud in every flavor, but never like this. Clara hesitates. "There's more." She leans closer. "Dr. Coleman has been calling the insurance company every day this week. The staff overheard him asking about life insurance payout procedures. He thinks we don't notice, but the walls here are thin." I stare at Lily's motionless face, the bruises fading from violet to yellow. "How much?" I whisper. $3 million, Clara says. "He told the staff it was for family security." My jaw tightens. Family security. That's what he called it when he convinced Lily to sign those papers 18 months ago. Clara bites her lip. "And, sir, he's filed a petition with Child Services." "What?" "He claims you're mentally unfit to care for Noah if the worst happens." My blood runs cold. "On what grounds?" "Early cognitive decline," she says softly. "He submitted medical notes." I almost laugh sharp, bitter. "I had a neurological exam last month. Perfect scores." Clara nods. "I know. That's why I'm telling you. Something isn't right." I look at her, at this woman risking her career to warn me, and I see fear mixed with quiet defiance. "Thank you," I tell her. As she leaves, I turn back to Lily. The machines beep. The night hums. Outside the window, the city glows with indifferent light. Somewhere far away, Eric Coleman lifts another glass of champagne, confident that no one will question him. But I will. I take out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find a number I haven't dialed in years. Sam Porter, former FBI cyber forensics agent, now private investigator. The man who once told me, "When the system fails, you make your own justice." The line clicks after the second ring. "Sam," I say quietly, "it's Michael Harris. I'm cashing in that favor you owe me." There's a pause, then a gravelly laugh. "You sound like a man about to start a war." I am. I hang up, slip the phone into my pocket, and look back at Lily. Her monitor blips once, strong and defiant, as if she heard me. Some wars start with sirens. Mine starts with a heartbeat. Morning sunlight filters through the blinds of room 312, painting narrow gold lines across the tiled floor. I haven't slept. The coffee in my paper cup has gone cold, untouched. I keep hearing Clara's words, forged signature, insurance calls, mental unfit report. I've spent my life chasing criminals. But it's different when the monster is sitting at your family table. At 8 a.m., I walk out to the hospital's small garden courtyard. The air smells of rain and disinfectant. I sit on a bench, open my worn leather briefcase, and pull out an old folder. Lily's marriage certificate, her trust documents, and copies of every legal form I once helped her file after she married Eric. She used to call me Dad, the safety net. My hands shake slightly as I compare the DNR Clara gave me to Eric's signature on the marriage license. The difference is glaring. The loops, the slant, the pressure, none of it matches. Whoever wrote this took their time, like a student rehearsing someone else's handwriting. I take photos of every page with my phone, cataloging the evidence instinctively. Years of trial work have made it muscle memory. Chain of custody, timestamp, documentation. Justice lives or dies on the paper trail. A soft voice breaks my focus. "You shouldn't stay out in the cold, Mr. Harris." Clara approaches, holding a disposable cup. Black. No sugar. "You look like you need it." I take it, grateful. "You've already risked your job. Why help me?" She hesitates. "Because I've seen what happens when families stay silent. I lost my sister to a man like him. Everyone thought he was perfect." That quiet conviction in her eyes, it hits harder than anything she said last night. She glances around, then pulls something from her pocket, a small flash drive. "Security footage from the visitor log system," she whispers. "It tracks every person who enters ICU. Eric came only twice in 2 weeks, both visits under 10 minutes. I exhale slowly. He's building distance before the final act. "There's more," she says. I overheard a conversation between Dr. Coleman, and someone from Emerald Life Insurance. He asked what documents are needed to expedite a payout in the event of confirmed brain death. My pulse quickens. When was that? Yesterday, around 4 p.m., right after he filed that DNR. He's not waiting for Lily to heal. He's waiting for her to die. I thank Clara and promise to protect her identity. Then I walk back inside, my reflection rippling in the glass doors like a stranger I barely recognize. By noon, I'm sitting in the hospital cafeteria with my phone pressed to my ear, listening to the slow ring of a number I memorized years ago. Sam Porter Investigations. "Sam, it's Harris. I'm sending files. Start with handwriting verification, timestamp metadata, and financial pulls on Eric Coleman. Banks, offshore accounts, hospital payroll, everything. You think he's dirty? I think he's a murderer wearing a white coat." Sam grunts softly. "You always did have a nose for rot." "Keep it quiet," I warn. "If he suspects we're onto him, he'll finish what he started." I end the call, slip my phone into my jacket, and catch my reflection again, an old man with tired eyes, but fire still behind them. At 2 p.m., Clara texts me one more message. He's back at the hospital, talking to administrators. I make my way toward the ICU. Through the glass doors, I see him at the nurse's station, sharp in a tailored gray suit, stethoscope draped loosely around his neck, a performance of devotion. He's charming the staff, smiling at the receptionist, To anyone else, he looks like a devoted husband. To me, he looks like a man rehearsing his alibi. He doesn't see me, but I watch him. The way he glances toward Lily's room, not once stepping inside. The way his phone buzzes and he smirks before slipping it back into his pocket. Then, something I don't expect, he signs a form at the counter, shakes the nurse's hand, and walks away. I step forward just as the nurse pins the new document to the board. Transfer request ICU to long-term care facility. He's trying to move her, to control her care, to isolate her completely. I press my thumb against the phone screen, take a photo of the form, and whisper to myself, "You're accelerating the timeline, aren't you, Eric?" As I watch him leave through the main lobby, his reflection flashes briefly against the revolving doors. Smiling, successful, untouchable. But I know something he doesn't. At 3 p.m., my phone vibrates. A text from Sam. "We've got something. Bank withdrawals, offshore activity, and a name. Jessica Monroe, billing associate." She's not just his mistress. She's his accomplice. I close my eyes, exhaling through clenched teeth. I've seen corruption in courtrooms, in prisons, in boardrooms. But betrayal in a hospital where life and death hang on ethics, that's a new kind of evil. I return to Lily's bedside that night, lay my hand on hers, and whisper, "He thinks you're alone, sweetheart. But he's about to find out what happens when a father's love meets the law." Her heart monitor flickers, one extra beat, as if she's listening. Outside, thunder rolls over the Denver skyline. Somewhere in the dark, justice stirs awake. The diner sits on the edge of Colfax Avenue, half lit by the blue flicker of a neon sign that reads, "Open 24 hours." It smells like burnt coffee and fried eggs, the scent of long nights and bad news. I arrive just after dawn, coat damp from the mist, briefcase in hand. Sam Porter is already there, sitting in the corner booth, with a black coffee and a half-eaten plate of pancakes. He looks older than I remember, white hair, heavier around the shoulders, but those sharp gray eyes haven't dulled. The kind of eyes that used to spot forged signatures from across a courtroom. "Mike Harris," he says, grinning through the steam of his cup. "I knew retirement wouldn't keep you out of trouble." I slide into the booth across from him and place a manila folder on the table. "This isn't trouble, Sam. It's attempted murder." He studies my face for a moment, then opens the folder. Inside are copies of Lily's medical forms, the DNR, photos of the forged signature, and screenshots of Jessica's yacht photos. He whistles low. Guy's not even subtle. Champagne and infidelity while his wife's in intensive care. "Check the timestamps," I tell him. The DNR was filed while he was still at sea. He's also trying to move Lily to another facility, cutting her off from the staff, who might ask questions. Sam flips through the pages quickly. "You got access to his financials?" "Not yet. But Clara Ruiz, the nurse, gave me a visitor log and a flash drive. He's only been to see her twice in 16 days. Sam leans back, rubbing his jaw. "That's not love. That's cleanup." He reaches for his laptop bag, pulls out a small device, and connects it to his phone. "Give me 24 hours and I'll have his entire digital life mapped. But I'll need authorization." "You'll have it," I say, "whatever it costs." He gives me a long look. "Still the old prosecutor, huh? Paper trail, evidence, airtight case. You sure you don't just want to make him disappear the easy way?" I almost laugh, but my throat is too tight. "I don't want him dead, Sam. I want him destroyed, legally, publicly, permanently." Sam nods. Then we play the long game. He starts typing, the soft clack of keys filling the silence. Let's see what our good doctor's been up to. I sip my coffee and watch the early morning traffic drift by outside. The streets are still wet, glistening in the weak Denver light. People go about their lives unaware that somewhere between the hum of this city, a man is plotting to profit from another person's death. "Got him," Sam mutters, accessing his accounts through an old billing portal. Idiot reused passwords. He turns the laptop toward me. Lines of transactions scroll down the screen. $8,700 here, $9,200 there. Always just under the federal reporting threshold. The withdrawals trace back to Lily's trust account. Then another set of entries, Bellini & Co. Jewelry, $21,400. La Côte Bistro, $2,860. The Key Largo Retreat, $11,000. I stare at the numbers until they blur. He's bleeding her dry, I whisper. Sam scrolls again. And he's not even covering his tracks. Same debit patterns, same time windows, every week for 4 months. I've seen drug traffickers with cleaner ledgers. He opens another window, a hospital database. Look at this, he says. ICU access logs. He's been logging in remotely, editing patient records, specifically hers. The cursor blinks beside a medical note. Patient exhibits no measurable neurological recovery. Added 3 days ago. He's falsifying reports to justify withdrawal of life support, Sam says quietly. That's medical fraud. Maybe worse. I feel a chill crawl down my spine. Sam closes the laptop. We're building a case, Mike. But to nail him, we'll need corroboration, financial, digital, and medical. Someone from the inside willing to testify. Clara will help, I say. She's terrified, but she'll do what's right. Good, he says. Then we have leverage. And I'll dig into Jessica Monroe. If she's part of this, she'll have left digital fingerprints everywhere. I glance out the window again, where dawn has burned into full daylight. A young couple walks past the diner, laughing, fingers interlocked. For a moment, I think of Lily on her wedding day, radiant, naive, promising him forever. My hand tightens around the coffee cup until it shakes. Sam notices. You okay? I manage a brittle smile. I'm fine. Just remembering how easily a lifetime of love can turn into evidence. He closes his notebook, stands, and extends his hand across the table. We'll get him, Mike. Piece by piece. I shake his hand. His grip is firm, steady, familiar. Outside, the sky over Denver glows pale orange, the kind of morning that looks peaceful to anyone who hasn't lost faith in peace. As I step into the chill air, I feel something shift inside me. The old instincts are awake again, the prosecutor, the hunter, the man who never lost a case because he always saw through lies. I glance back at the diner window where Sam still sits typing, the reflection of code flickering across his glasses. Do your worst, Eric, I murmur to myself, because I'm just getting started. And for the first time since the accident, I feel something close to purpose. Cold, focused, unstoppable. By the time I leave the diner, Denver's morning rush has begun. The sky has turned a clean, merciless blue. I drive straight back to Street Bridget's, rehearsing what I'll say when I see Eric next. But I never get the chance. He calls first. It's 7:26 a.m. My phone buzzes across the passenger seat, his name lighting the screen like a warning flare. Michael, he says smoothly when I answer. The voice is calm, practiced how a surgeon might speak to a patient before the anesthesia. We need to talk about Lily's condition. I thought it was best we discuss things rationally. I can hear ocean wind through the line. He's outside, maybe still near the yacht. I'm listening, I say. Her brain activity is minimal, he continues. The doctors agree there's little chance of recovery. She's in pain, even if she can't say it. This isn't living, Michael. I keep my tone measured. Which doctors told you that? A brief pause. Dr. Hadley. He's one of the best neurologists in the state. I know, I say softly. I called him this morning. Another silence. He said he's never examined Lily. Never even heard of her. There's a click of breath on the other end, the sound of someone caught mid-lie. Then, smoothly again. You must have misunderstood. Look, I know this is hard, but I don't misunderstand much, I interrupt. Not when it comes to forged documents and timestamp metadata. He laughs lightly, but there's a thin crack beneath the sound. Come on, Michael. You're seeing ghosts. You're a retired prosecutor, clinging to relevance. I'm her husband. I'm making medical decisions for her, not you. Her forged DNR says otherwise, I reply. The silence, this time, is heavier. Forged, he repeats. Yes, signed while you were photographed off the coast of Florida. 3:14 p.m. local time. You were still on that yacht, Eric. You even toasted to new beginnings, remember? He exhales slowly. You're making a dangerous accusation. I smile faintly, though he can't see it. No, I'm stating a fact. And I have the proof. The calm tone slips from his voice, like a mask hitting the floor. You have no idea who you're dealing with. You want to ruin my career because of your obsession with control? You've been a has-been for years. You think anyone's going to believe some washed-up old prosecutor over a surgeon? I don't need them to believe me, I say. I just need them to look. His breath quickens. What do you want? There it is, the real question. I want you to visit your wife, I tell him evenly. To look at her. To remember that she's a person, not a paycheck. And to stop contacting the insurance company. He laughs, short and bitter. Or what? Or I make sure every hospital board in the state sees the DNR, the financial withdrawals, and those yacht photos. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you, I say. Threats are for people who still think they can win. There's another long pause. Then his tone changes darker, colder. Listen carefully, old man, he says. You're not her guardian. You're not even family by law when she dies. I'm a Harvard-trained surgeon. You're a lonely retiree who's losing his mind. Sarah, sorry. Lily is gone. She's brain dead. When she dies, I'll move on. Noah will have a real mother. A young, stable one. The words hit like a physical blow. My grip tightens around the phone until my knuckles go white. But my voice stays even. Years of courtroom discipline keeping me steady. Interesting choice of words, Eric. When she dies, not if. I'm done here, he snaps. You should be, I reply quietly. Because from this moment on, every word, every call, every purchase you make will be traced. He tries to laugh again, but it comes out strained. You don't scare me. I don't need to. The truth will. I hang up. For a moment, I just sit in the car, listening to the faint ticking of the engine cooling. Outside, a mother leads her little boy across the crosswalk, his backpack swinging, her hand firm on his shoulder. I think of Lily walking Noah to school, always running late, always laughing. Then my phone buzzes again. It's a text from Sam. You were right about the yacht. Just confirmed a payment, $52,000 wire transfer from Lily's joint account, sent while he was in surgery. He's stealing her money in real time. I close my eyes. The air feels heavy, electric. Another text follows. Also found calls to Mutual Assurance Insurance. He's asking how quickly benefits pay out after verified death. I type back. Record everything. Freeze nothing yet. I want him to think he's still winning. When I finally enter the ICU again, Clara meets me at the door. She's stable, she says softly. I nod, step inside, and sit beside my daughter. The monitors beep in their steady rhythm, unbroken, relentless. I take her hand, warm beneath the tangle of tubes. He thinks you're already gone, I whisper. But I know you're still fighting, and so am I. I pull my phone from my pocket and dial Sam again. Time to dig deeper, I say. Find every account, every shell company, every lie he's ever told. He thinks I'm old and harmless. Sam chuckles darkly on the other end. Then he's about to learn how dangerous harmless can be. I end the call and lean back in the chair, eyes on the monitor. Each heartbeat feels like a countdown. Eric believes in numbers, insurance amounts, payoffs, payouts. But I've built my life on something stronger. Evidence, patience, and justice. He's counting on Lily to die quietly. I'm counting on him to underestimate me. The next morning, the air over Denver feels sharp enough to cut glass. Snow flurries drift against the courthouse windows as I sit in my study surrounded by folders, scribbled notes, and coffee rings. Every instinct I built in 30 years of prosecution tells me the same thing. Eric's arrogance is the thread. Pull hard enough, and the whole web collapses. At 9 a.m., Sam calls. You up? Barely, I say. Good. Because I found something that doesn't add up. You might want to sit down. I'm already sitting. He exhales through the line. Eric's been routing money through a shell company, 5 of them actually, all tied to a billing service in Tampa under the name Horizon MedLink. He's using it to siphon hospital payments and Lily's joint funds into offshore accounts. How much? 342,000. Over 4 months. I press my fingers against my temples. He's laundering money while she's on life support. Not just that, Sam adds. He opened those accounts using the hospital's internal access codes. It's not just theft, it's wire fraud, computer tampering, and federal territory. I cross-checked IP addresses. Every transfer came from his workstation inside Street Bridget's. I let that sink in. My daughter's husband has been committing federal crimes inside the same hospital where she's fighting for her life. Get me everything, I tell him. Transaction records, company filings, phone logs. Already in motion, Sam says, but I'm bringing in a third set of eyes. You'll want this one. That's how I meet Dr. Rachel Lynn. She arrives at my house 2 hours later, brisk and precise. A former IRS forensic accountant who's turned private after exposing a medical fraud ring in San Diego. She's in her mid-40s, sharp brown eyes, no small talk, the kind of person who weighs every word before saying it. Mr. Harris, she says, setting down her laptop. I've reviewed what Mr. Porter sent me. Your son-in-law isn't just careless, he's deliberate. She opens her screen. Columns of numbers stretch endlessly. He's been moving funds in intervals just below regulatory reporting. Limits 9,000, 8,500, 9,200. It's patterned, mechanical, classic structuring. I nod slowly, to avoid detection. Exactly, she says. But he made a mistake. He used his hospital ID on every access. The audit trail is digital cement. It doesn't vanish. She scrolls further. Here's where it gets worse. 2 weeks before your daughter's crash, Eric purchased surgical tools online. Specialty blades, only used in orthopedic procedures. The blood drains from my face. What does that have to do with her car accident? Rachel clicks to another window. Photographs of Lily's wrecked Honda. Close-ups of the brake line. The line was cut cleanly, with a sterile edge, consistent with a surgical scalpel. The forensic pattern matches the model he ordered. For a moment, all I hear is the faint hum of her laptop fan and the crackle of the fire in my study. He tried to kill her, I whisper. Rachel looks up, voice calm but firm. Yes. And when that didn't finish the job, he planned to do it inside the hospital. I stare at the photos, the steel line split open like a wound. Lily's blood dried on the steering wheel. The world tilts. How do we prove it? I finally ask. Documentation, Rachel says. Financial, physical, digital. You gather motive. We'll handle means and opportunity. She pauses, then adds, one more thing, you'll want to hear this. She pulls up a log of recorded calls Sam intercepted from hospital landlines. Eric's voice fills the room smooth, calculated. If I provide a certified DNR, how soon after confirmation of death does the policy release funds? The insurance agent answers. Standard is 10 business days. Expedited with documentation. Then Eric again. What about in cases of brain death? Technically, that's a legal death, correct? The sound of his voice so calm, so methodical makes my stomach twist. Rachel closes the laptop. He's rehearsing his justification. He knows the law well enough to frame it as medical ethics. I nod, my pulse steadying. Then we frame him with the truth. That evening, I drive back to the hospital. Snow has stopped, and the air smells of metal and cold. I park near the staff entrance, where Clara meets me with a quiet nod. He's been pacing around all day, she whispers, talking to administrators again. Something's brewing. Let him brew, I say. I'm almost done building the fire. In Lily's room, the machines keep their steady rhythm. I sit beside her bed, holding her hand. Sweetheart, I murmur. I know you can't hear me, but I need you to fight a little longer. We're almost there. Her heart monitor flickers, a subtle uptick in rhythm, like she's answering me. I take out my notebook and jot down the plan. Tomorrow, Rachel will file the report with the hospital's ethics board. Sam will trace the offshore transfers to Horizon Medlink's Cayman branch. And I'll contact an old friend at the U.S. Attorney's Office, the one who still owes me a favor from the Halverson corruption trial. Outside the window, Denver's skyline glows beneath a cold moon. Somewhere in this city, Eric Coleman is sitting in a penthouse suite, thinking he's outsmarted the world. But he hasn't met what's coming for him. Not yet. I whisper to the glass, voice low and certain. Tomorrow, we pull the plug on your empire, Eric. But not the one you think. The machines continue their soft, rhythmic song behind me, steady, defiant, alive. Justice hums with them. It was almost 2 a.m. when my phone started vibrating on the nightstand. I didn't even need to check who it was. The moment I heard Clara's shaking voice, I was already on my feet. "Mr. Harris," she whispered. "He's here. Dr. Coleman just entered ICU. He's carrying a syringe unlabeled." My body reacted before my mind did. Coat, keys, revolver, quiet rage. I didn't even bother with shoes, just slipped into boots and drove through the dark streets of Denver, snow turning to slush beneath the tires. Clara's words replayed over and over in my head. Syringe. No label. 2 a.m. The hospital was silent when I arrived. That eerie silence only hospitals know, where the air hums like it's holding its breath. I slipped through the side entrance that Clara had told me about days ago, the one where the night guard never checked badges. She was waiting for me near the nurse's station, pale and trembling, eyes darting toward the hallway that led to Lily's room. "He told me he needed to administer a sedative," she whispered. "But there's no order in the chart." Where is he now? In her room. The hallway felt like it stretched for miles. Every footstep sounded like thunder. I reached the doorway and froze. Through the narrow glass panel, I saw him, Eric, standing beside Lily's bed. His white coat was immaculate, his face calm, professional, but his hand shook slightly as he drew the plunger back. "Eric!" My voice cracked through the air like a gunshot. He jerked, spinning around. The syringe slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the tile. For a split second, both of us just stared at each other. His expression wasn't guilt. It was rage at being caught. "What the hell are you doing here?" he hissed. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. "Stopping you from killing my daughter." His jaw tightened. "You're out of line. This is medical procedure." "Potassium chloride is not a sedative," I said. "I prosecuted a case just like this 15 years ago. You use it in lethal injections." He took a step forward. "You're crazy." "Am I?" I gestured toward the syringe on the floor. "No label, no authorization, no witness. What were you planning to write in the chart? Cardiac arrest. Patient unresponsive." His eyes flicked toward the door, calculating escape routes. I could almost hear the gears grinding behind his composure. "You can't prove anything," he said finally. "Actually," I said softly, "I can." I pulled out my phone, pressed play. His voice filled the room, the recording Sam had intercepted from the hospital landline. "If I provide a certified DNR, how soon after confirmation of death does the policy release funds?" Eric's face drained of color. I stepped closer. "That's your voice, your words, recorded under your login, your workstation. You forged signatures. You stole money. You sabotaged her car. And now, you're trying to finish what you started." He lunged for the syringe, but I was faster. I kicked it under the bed. "Touch it," I said, "and you'll never touch another medical license again." His chest heaved, breath coming fast. "You think anyone will believe you over me? You're just a bitter old man trying to control his daughter's life." I leaned in until our faces were inches apart. "No, Eric. I'm a father who finally realized his mistake, trusting you." Behind us, the door opened. 2 security guards burst in, followed by Clara, her face pale but determined. "The chief of staff's on her way," she said. "I called her as soon as you went in." Eric turned toward them, eyes wild. "He's assaulting me! He broke in!" "Save it," I said. Every word's on the security cameras. He froze. For the first time, he seemed to understand the scale of what he'd done. The thin thread of arrogance that had carried him this far finally snapped. They took him away in silence. Clara knelt, picked up the syringe carefully with gloved hands, and sealed it in a specimen bag. "We'll have the lab test it," she said quietly. I nodded, my throat tight. "Thank you." The adrenaline drained out of me all at once. I turned back to Lily, The monitors blinked steadily, each beat a small rebellion against the man who wanted her gone. Outside, the hospital stirred awake as word spread. By dawn, the story had already leaked an anonymous source, tipping off the press. At 7 a.m., the headline flashed across Channel 9. Local surgeon under investigation for attempted homicide of comatose wife. I stood in the ICU doorway, watching the TV through the nurse's lounge window. His photo appeared on the screen, confident, smiling, his hospital ID pinned proudly to his coat. The anchor's voice cut through the quiet. Sources confirm Dr. Eric Coleman is suspected of medical tampering, insurance fraud, and misappropriation of patient funds. The nurses stared at the screen in shock. Some gasped. Clara just crossed her arms, eyes glistening. My phone buzzed again. It was Sam. "You did it," he said. "No," I answered. "He did it to himself. I just opened the curtain." That night, I sat beside Lily again, her fingers warm against mine. The machines hummed softly, a lullaby for the living. "He won't touch you again," I whispered. "Not now. Not ever." Outside, the snow fell heavier, blanketing the city in white. Somewhere, Eric was sitting in a holding room, stripped of his title, his pride, his freedom, finally realizing that the man he called washed up had just buried him with evidence. I leaned close to Lily's ear. "Sleep, sweetheart," I murmured. "Your fight's almost over. Mine's just begun." And in the blue light of the monitors, her pulse quickened, stronger, defiant, alive. The courthouse smelled of rain and old paper that morning. Reporters crowded the marble steps, their microphones pointed like bayonets. The headline from the night before had detonated across Denver: prominent surgeon accused of attempted murder, insurance fraud, and medical sabotage. Inside, the air pulsed with that tense quiet that always comes before a verdict. But this time, I wasn't the one on the bench. I was on the other side, the petitioner, fighting for my granddaughter, for my daughter's estate, and for justice itself. Federal agents, journalists, hospital administrators, the entire city seemed to have gathered to watch the fall of Eric Coleman. He entered the courtroom flanked by two attorneys, wearing a navy suit that no longer fit his frame. His confidence had evaporated. His eyes darted toward me, but didn't linger. The arrogance was gone. Only calculation remained. Judge Carlin Wynn presided, sharp, unflinching, the kind of judge who once terrified rookie prosecutors. I'd trained her 20 years ago, when she was an eager assistant DA. Now, she was the one holding the gavel. "Case number 22 to 1471, she began. "Harris versus Coleman. Petition for emergency guardianship and conservatorship. Additionally, criminal proceedings pending for attempted homicide and federal fraud." The words hung in the air like a verdict before the verdict. My attorney Janet Walsh rose first. "Your Honor, this is not merely a custody matter. It's about protecting a child from a man who tried to kill her mother and profit from her death." Across the aisle, Eric's defense attorney Mark Reed jumped to his feet. "Objection, unproven allegations. Dr. Coleman has not been convicted." Judge Nguyen's voice cut through the tension. "Sit down, Mr. Reed. I've read the file. Let's proceed." Janet turned to the bench. "Your Honor, we'd like to call our first witness, Nurse Clara Ruiz." Clara stepped forward, hands trembling slightly as she was sworn in. Her voice was calm but heavy with emotion. "I've worked in that ICU for 25 years. I've seen families fall apart, but I've never seen a husband act like that man. Please tell the court what you witnessed," Janet said. On October 28th, around 2 a.m, Dr. Coleman entered Mrs. Coleman's room with an unlabeled syringe. When I asked for the medical order, he became agitated and evasive. There was no entry in the chart. I stopped him and secured the syringe. Later, the lab confirmed it contained potassium chloride, enough to stop a human heart in less than a minute. A murmur rippled through the gallery. Cameras clicked. Janet's voice stayed steady. "In your professional opinion, Nurse Ruiz, if Mr. Harris had not arrived when he did, what would have happened?" "Mrs. Coleman would have died," Clara said simply. Across the room, Eric stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Next came Sam Porter. He walked to the stand wearing the same brown jacket he'd worn for years, unbothered by the press or the stares. I was retained by Mr. Harris to conduct a private investigation, he said. Within 48 hours, I discovered multiple shell companies under Dr. Coleman's name: Horizon Medlink, Sunbridge Associates, Green Key Logistics, all tied to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. He clicked a remote. The projector illuminated the courtroom wall with spreadsheets and wire transfers. Here, $8,500, withdrawn from Lily Coleman's trust fund, followed by a $7,900 payment to Bellini & Co. Jewelry. Another $11,000 to the Key Largo retreat. Same pattern for months. Janet nodded. And what conclusion did you reach? He was siphoning her money while she was in a coma, Sam said. He used hospital systems to access accounts illegally. That's computer fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. The defense objected again, but Judge Nguyen silenced them with a glance. Janet called Dr. Rachel Lynn next. She carried a laptop and 3 thick folders, setting them neatly on the witness stand. Dr. Lynn, could you explain your role? I'm a forensic accountant and former IRS investigator. I traced every cent connected to Dr. Coleman's activities. She opened a folder and pointed to color-coded charts. The financial data confirms a pattern of structured withdrawals totaling $342,000 laundered through medical billing codes. He forged insurance documents, including the life policy, listing a $3 million payout doubled for accidental death. Janet asked softly, Doctor, in your expert opinion, was Mrs. Coleman's car accident an accident? No, Rachel said. The brake line was severed with surgical precision. The cuts matched blades purchased under Dr. Coleman's hospital account 2 days prior. The room erupted in whispers. Judge Nguyen banged her gavel. Order! Rachel continued, voice even. He failed the first attempt, so he tried again in the ICU. I have the lab report from the syringe potassium chloride mixed with insulin. It would have caused cardiac arrest disguised as diabetic shock. The silence after that statement was absolute. Janet called the final witness. Special Agent Elena Brooks of the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. The federal seal gleamed on her badge as she spoke. Dr. Coleman was arrested after evidence confirmed wire fraud, insurance conspiracy, and attempted murder. His accomplice, Jessica Monroe, was detained at Vancouver International Airport, trying to flee the country. Is she cooperating? Janet asked. Yes, the agent said. She provided email correspondence where Dr. Coleman discussed finalizing the accident payout and attached photographs of the yacht celebration labeled Successful Operation. The courtroom gasped again. Eric shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, he looked small, just another man cornered by his own arrogance. When Janet rested her case, Judge Nguyen leaned forward. Mr. Reed, does your client wish to testify? Reed whispered urgently, but Eric only shook his head. Judge Nguyen nodded once. Then we moved to closing arguments. Janet rose slowly, voice resonant and steady. Your Honor, this case is about betrayal, the kind that hides behind a white coat and a wedding band. Dr. Coleman didn't just try to kill his wife. He tried to erase her, to turn her life into a payout. But justice caught up. And justice, as Mr. Harris spent his life proving, does not forget. When the judge delivered her decision, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. I hereby grant full guardianship of the minor, Noah Coleman, to Michael Harris. All assets of the Coleman estate are frozen pending restitution. Dr. Eric Coleman's medical license is revoked, effective immediately. The criminal case will proceed to federal court. The gavel struck. Eric lowered his head into his hands. For a man who had once believed he could control life and death, the sound of that wooden hammer was the only truth left. As deputies led him away, our eyes met one final time. There was no fury left in him, just disbelief. Janet leaned close and whispered, It's over. But I shook my head. No, not yet. Justice isn't over until Lily wakes up. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky over Denver broke open into pale sunlight, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. 3 months passed. Winter melted into the first fragile warmth of spring, and Denver began to breathe again. But my world stayed centered on one hospital room, room 312. The court battles, the media frenzy, the FBI investigations, none of it mattered. Each morning, when I pulled open that door and saw my daughter lying beneath the soft pulse of the monitors, every beep was a reminder that she was still here, still fighting. Then one morning, everything changed. It was quiet except for the rhythmic hum of the ventilator. I was reading aloud from one of Noah's favorite storybooks, my voice breaking on every third sentence. The light slanted through the blinds, falling across Lily's face. Her eyelashes fluttered. At first, I thought it was just a muscle twitch, but then her lips parted, a soft sound escaping a word, barely audible. "Dad!" The book slid from my hands. For a second, I couldn't move. My knees went weak as I leaned over her, searching her eyes. They were open, dazed but aware, the faintest spark of recognition flickering like dawn. "Lily?" My voice was a whisper. "Sweetheart, can you hear me?" She blinked once. A tear slipped down her temple. "Dad? Noah?" "He's safe," I said, choking on the words. "He's home. You're safe too." She tried to sit up, but her body trembled. The nurse rushed in, pressing a gentle hand to her shoulder, checking the vitals. "It's real," she said softly. "She's waking up." I couldn't stop shaking. For weeks I had lived between hope and grief, and now both emotions collided at once. The doctors called it a medical miracle. They used words like neuroplasticity and unexpected cognitive recovery, but I didn't need their explanations. I just knew that for the first time in months, I was looking into my daughter's eyes. 2 days later, Noah ran into her hospital room, carrying a stuffed bear nearly half his size. "Mom!" he cried, throwing his arms around her. Lily laughed through tears, holding him as tightly as her weakened arms allowed. "I missed you so much," she whispered. He looked up at her with those same brown eyes she used to have as a little girl. "Grandpa made pancakes every Sunday, and he said you were sleeping so you could dream better." She turned to me, eyes shining. "You did that?" I smiled, though my voice trembled. "You always told me to keep routines for him. I just followed orders." Later that week, the criminal trial concluded. The courtroom was packed again, but this time I didn't attend. I didn't need to. Justice had already spoken. Eric Coleman was convicted on all counts: attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. 25 years to life. No parole. Jessica Monroe took a plea deal, 8 years, with cooperation credit. Her testimony sealed the case. The FBI confiscated the yacht, the jewelry, the offshore accounts. The restitution went to Lily's estate, plus additional damages for emotional and financial abuse. In total, she regained everything he tried to steal. But it wasn't about the money. It never was. I sat beside Lily in her rehab room as she learned to walk again, step by trembling step. Each day she grew stronger, her voice steadier, her laughter louder. The scar near her temple would never fade completely, but she said she wanted it that way. "It reminds me that I lived," she told me. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the snow-capped Rockies, she asked, "Dad, why didn't you give up?" I looked at her, at the daughter I once cradled in my arms, now fighting her way back from death. "Because I've seen evil win when good men stayed quiet," I said, "and I wasn't going to let that happen to you." She nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "Thank you for believing in me." That night, I stood by the hospital window, watching the city lights flicker on below. Noah slept curled up on the couch, Lily breathing softly in her bed. The sound of the monitor had become a rhythm I trusted again, steady, alive, eternal. Outside, the world moved on. But for us, time had slowed to gratitude. Reflection. In my years as a prosecutor, I thought justice lived in courtrooms, sealed in verdicts and paper judgments. I was wrong. Justice begins in the smallest moments, when someone refuses to walk away, when love becomes proof, when truth outlasts lies. Eric Coleman believed he could measure life in money, policies, and signatures. But life, real life, is measured in the people who stand by you when the world stops believing. Some call me stubborn, Maybe I am. But I've learned something no case ever taught me. You can't legislate love. You can only live it. And sometimes, that's what saves a life. As the sun broke across the Denver skyline the next morning, I sat quietly beside my daughter and grandson. Lily's hand rested in mine, Noah asleep against her shoulder. For the first time in a long time, the world felt right again. The machines hummed their steady music. Justice had done its work. Love had done the rest.